Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be trying my hand at another tutorial style video. I'm going to be showing you step by step how I kitbashed this angry snake lady into my latest Kroot demon character. So let's go ahead and jump in and start kitbashing. So to start off with, we have our angry snake lady sprue. You can use any of these Medusa type models from the what are they called? The Daughters of Khaine army for Age of Sigmar. There's a couple different ones. I just chose the one-off character version model for this particular kitbash. And then you're also going to need the the bow and arrow from the wind chargers, which are the kangaroo archer riding guys for the other elf range, as well as some just generic Kroot parts like a Kroot head, and any other cool bits that you think you might need to just kind of spice up the model when it's all done. Now, this is just going to be a little boring clip of me doing a little bit of clipping, getting the parts ready to start building. What we're going to do is we're going to build up the lower half of the model first because we don't plan to do anything with the snake part of the model. That's the part that we want to keep, as well as the torso of the body. But to really sell the Krootness, we need those Kroot hands, arms, and heads. So yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of a time skip here to where I've got some more of the model put together. Okay, now we get to what was by far the most difficult but important part of the model in my opinion. So we want to have this bow and arrow, and that is to represent the shooting attack that this Kroot demon character has. Now this is meant to be in the Infernal Enraptress, I believe is what it's called. And it has just kind of like a random magical shooting attack, but in this case I thought the bow would be cooler. Um, so we want the bow, but to really sell it as Kroot, you need those Kroot hands. So now we have to do what every kitbasher dreads, where you have to do a 2-point connection with a hand, and you need to do it in 2 places at the same time, which is just like absolute nightmare fuel. For anyone who doesn't kitbash a lot, that's what I mean by that is where you're doing like a weapon swap or something where you have a hand that's holding something and you need to attach something to both sides of the hand, like whether it's a spear or a sword, and you're having to attach, the blade or the haft at the one end, and then the butt of the weapon at the other end. In this case, we're having to do the top and bottom half of the bow for the one hand, as well as the other hand, which is meant to be holding the bowstring and the back of the arrow. Now, fortunately for us, the Kroot hands that came with this rifle bit fit perfectly for this case, especially the Kroot fingers on the bow string holding hand. The way the Kroot fingers are spaced out, it kind of perfectly looks like he would be holding the back of that arrow, like you sometimes see archers where they're not gripping it like between their thumb and finger. The Kroot don't really have thumbs the way humans do anyway, and they'll kind of hold it between 2 fingers. That's what this is meant to look like, and I think it comes across quite well. I'll take a moment to explain a little bit more about this kitbash. I should have done this at the start of the video. So, as I said, this is being meant to be an infernal enraptress, which is so when you do kitbashes, you want it to be fairly close and to represent accurately what it is representing. In this case, it's a small, like infantry-sized character. Infantry amount of wounds. I don't know if it's 4 or 5 or something like that. It's got a little bit of melee in the form of like claw attacks, which is easily explained by the bladed tail of the snake model, or the normal claws and beak of the Kroot. And then it has a shooting attack with 2 different profiles. So in this case, we've got the bow, which is going to have some sort of like magical arrows or whatever, because the model is also a psyker. That's perfectly reasonable, like poison, magic arrows, whatever. And then it also has this cool snake staff, which I imagine can shoot some sort of beam attack. So you could imagine that's the other portion of the attack. So that's just, explaining the war gear and like what this model is meant to be. Obviously, it's quite different than what it is, but not so different that it doesn't make sense if you explained it to somebody when you were playing against them. Now this right here, we're just sprucing up that arrow a little bit. We're swapping the little dinky arrowhead for a much broader, meaner looking arrowhead. That is actually from a javelin from a skink kit for Age of Sigmar. There's a lot of different kits that come with skinks holding javelins. All the big monsters, there's Kroot, or there's skinks holding those javelins. So if you have anybody in your group that plays Seraphon, or you yourself do, I'm sure you'll have lots of those kicking around. They're quite easy to come by. And so here we have the finished bow weapon. As you can see, both Kroot hands are implemented into the weapon, and they look, like they fit in pretty well. There's plenty of cleanup to do with a little bit of green stuff and a little bit of trimming, but as the glue is still drying, we're going to leave that for a later date. Now what I'm doing, what I always do, is you take your time and you measure out approximately, and you see what you're going to have to do to make parts work. In this case, when I'm looking at the model, the hand that is holding the bow, the actual bow itself, is quite far away from the body, and it becomes apparent that the normal Kroot arm is actually a bit too short. So what I'm going to have to do is I end up having to trim off the shoulder of that other arm to make them more even, and then I have to basically resculpt the top half of each of the arms with green stuff. Not a big deal. Especially, I find doing shoulders to be a lot less of a worry because whether it's Kroot, Space Marines, whatever, always keep in mind that a lot of it can be hidden behind a shoulder plate or some sort of ornamentation. So you don't necessarily always have to get all the muscles and everything looking perfect. I am by no means an expert sculptor. So as you'll see, like it's nothing particularly special. You just start with little blobs of green stuff. Just kind of stick the arms where you think they're going to go and then wrap the green stuff around them very carefully. It's a lot of fiddling back and forth not to lose the position of that you're trying to achieve as you work that green stuff in and work it into shape as best you can. And then the final touch for me is to then I do give a shoulder pad to each shoulder. I use one of the Kroot ones, then the other one from the main Snake Lady kit. Um, and that helps to, like I said, it just helps to kind of blend it in a little bit better. Yeah, especially if your sculpting skills aren't, just god tier and, you can do it better than GW or whatever, because I certainly can't. So here we have the model nearly done here. Now it's the fun part where we get to just add little extra bits. The kit came with this cool knife. I'm not sure if I'm going to use that. I also had some extra horns and spikes. I wasn't sure if I was going to try to put those like on the back or on the shoulders or something to kind of give a little more bulk to the model. One thing I did want to do for sure is to use that cool snake staff that came with the kit. And as it's not holding it, I had considered giving it a third arm to hold it, go real warp spaghetti on this thing, make it really messed up and give it extra limbs. But what I think I'm going to do is actually just strap it to its back. The back is kind of bare and there's quite a bit of room to do that. So I'm just going to make a really simple little green stuff strap to hold that on. And you do that by just taking a little bit of green stuff, rolling it into a noodle, and then you very carefully twist it between, your thumb and index finger on both hands. And that'll make it into a kind of little coiled rope. And you can just use that for whatever you need it and make it whatever size you need it. The final bit that was actually pretty tricky was I wanted to use the cool snake mask that came with the lady, and so I trimmed off these sort of, human slash elfish features of that and just kept the snake headdress. And was able to just, with a little bit of trimming, just glue that down nicely on the Kroot head. Eventually, when everything's dried again, I am going to add little green stuff straps just to, look like it's held on there a little bit better. But that's pretty much it, guys. Here's a couple little bit better pictures I just took quickly after I was done. These aren't, like I said, there's a little bit of tidying up to do, a little bit of evening out with the green stuff and whatever, but this is where we ended up. If you like what you see and you want to see more, feel free to support me on Patreon. I do post my work in progress pictures over there all the time, and you'll see them a lot sooner than anywhere else. Either way, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.